Welcome back to Catalyst UG. It has been about, 2 months, 3 months since we did our last shoot. And the day is finally here. We are celebrating 1 year of Catalyst UG. We are being hosted by Zimbali. Yeah, we're doing a couple of things. As you can see and hear. We shall be having a plethora of conversations, We're going to have politics, we're going to have mental health, we're going to have conversations coming from the audience as well. But the first topic we are having is politics. But we're not going to talk about Lukwago, we're not going to talk about Among, we're not going to talk about the things you are guessing. We're going to be talking about a bit of other things, but in the realm of politics as well. However, before I go any further, for those who don't remember, and for those who don't know, my name is Larok Timothy Matthew, and co-hosting this conversation with me is none other than Conrad, whom I'll let introduce himself. Maybe he has more things to say about himself. These days we are marketing who we are, so yeah.
Thank you very much. I'm Larok. Thank you very much, Larok. I'm happy to be here. Before I say anything, I think we need to really give props to the team at Catalyst. This is the cue where we can clap. To be brave and organize something like this, it's quite something. You guys are doing, it's an amazing thing, it's an amazing space. Yeah. So yes, my name is Larok and Conrad. Yeah, I am. I love life and the experience of it. To experience it, it's a blessing. And I'm happy to be here and to hear insights from people and share some of my own insights. We can disagree, we can agree, we can connect and everything. But yeah, I'm glad to be here and humbled to be considered to share some thoughts on a really important part of our lives. And yeah, and I can't wait to hear from each and every one of you, listen to you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Conrad. So as I said, guys, we're keeping things a bit calm. We're not going to get we're supposed to get heated because, guys, we're discussing politics, There's supposed to be some energy. And I think as Conrad has said, we're going to be interactive, right? So don't allow us to just keep going back and forth. That's why I didn't want us to come and start talking about, guys, the sovereignty bill, areas Lukwago. These things do matter, right? But we wanted to bring the conversation of politics in a way that matters to you who are seated there today. You who is going to campus, you who is looking for employment, you who said that you would rather leave your dream job if they're not paying you and go for some job which you don't like because they're paying you, yes. So we're going to be having sort of like unpopular opinions to guide the conversation. I don't know if we are conversant with that, the way unpopular opinions work, right? An unpopular opinion will be given and maybe Conrad will start the conversation or someone in the crowd will feel like, you've touched me somewhere. Me, I'm the one who should begin that conversation. Obviously, I know there are new faces here and there, so Jael is also scaring me the way she's looking at me. It's a bit, she has refused to smile. But guys, let's be happy. I know. Want to talk about men's mental health first. So and so has refused to open up to you, but we shall come to that.
And he will open up.
Yeah?
He will open up.
And he will open up, yes. So one of the first things we're talking about in the realm of conversation was employment. And this is should I say an unpopular opinion or a bite that someone put to begin the conversation, because we had put out to get people's opinions. And someone was saying that we don't have a youth employment crisis, we have a youth entitlement crisis. Not everyone who went to university deserves to get a desk job, or not everyone who went to university deserves to get their dream job. I don't know if we've got the gist of the conversation. I'm going to allow it brew in your minds a bit and you think about it as maybe we give some bit of background and then I'll hand over to Conrad. But one of the reasons we're having this conversation is because I think we all know Solomon Chimera, right? If you know him, you can put up your hand. Who knows Solomon Chimera? Guys.
Say doctor, they may know by that.
You know Dr. Solomon Chimera. But you know that guy, the TikTok guy, right? Yeah. So he said something very interesting when they were interviewing him. I didn't know that this guy had done medicine and surgery, and he had got like a first-class degree. But then what happened is that he went into the world of TikTok and content. So they were interviewing him, I think like 2 weeks back, and they asked him to choose. Would you choose continuing doing like medicine and surgery, which some of you are doing, or doing content. And he said, I can't sacrifice my TikTok account, like in this Uganda we are living in, you get. So it made us think of that conversation that not everyone who actually goes to campus deserves to get there, what? Or must necessarily be confined to getting that particular desk job or dream job. I don't know if you've got the gist, right? But it could also be the other way around, in that someone tells you because you did this, doesn't mean you necessarily deserve to get that job or anything like that. So I'm going to allow Conrad begin the conversation as you guys are brewing and thinking, and then maybe we shall move over to you guys when Conrad has finished his take. Or in case you disagree with him, you can just put up your hand and say, boss, no, I don't agree. You get something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. So employment is a very, very important thing. You're going to spend the next 70-80% of your life working, you know, and for us, most of us here who are in uni, most of us who are here in uni, employment is like the next goal. So that's why I think this conversation is very important. And one of the things we have to ask ourselves is, what's our context on employment and development? What Dr. Solomon Chimera said, you know, in my view, I would agree with it. Why? Because his content is what puts food on his table more than his medical practice. You know, there are all those contexts you must take into account when someone makes a decision. And when you talk about youth entitlement, it's also, I want to call it entitlement, but it's a reality you must grasp with, in that things are getting tougher. Opportunities are becoming not less, but more difficult because of the numbers. So of course, not every person here, not all of us in this country and world over are going to have desk jobs.
Yeah, I think they can see. Yeah. We are councillors here, now we are doing content creation.
Yeah, and that's a painful reality. However, what's worse for me is, instead of you being able to make that realization on your own, you're forced to make that realization because of the government policy. And that, in that sense, I don't think it's entitlement. I think it's being dealt with you've been dealt a bad hand. People who play poker, you know, you can be dealt a bad hand and you lose. So, you know, there's also that, because it is a realization, it is a fact, but your chances of getting a desk job should not be reduced on by wrong government policies or by things that are happening currently. Dr. Solomon Chimera is privileged that he has been able to make the choice himself. Like himself, he's not made the choice because the government has cut down on the number of jobs. Yeah? He's made the choice because he's looked at the options on the table and he loves what he does and he's realized, I think this is better for me. What hurts me is when you're not given that opportunity to make that choice because of government policy, because of things that are happening. I don't want to preempt with another conversation we shall have later about medical interns and whatever, but you know, it's a serious concern, especially as young people where we are going. So I would not call it an entitlement, but at the same time, we should not be naive to that fact and that realization, and hence the need for reinventing ourselves. Yeah, you might be doing engineering that said that, but you can see like the guys we have here who are doing videography, props to them, Site 99. Yeah, you can have a passion for photography or videography. Yeah, lean into that. If you're a very good soccer player, you could represent Uganda at the next World Cup in 2030. Yeah, but you're a doctor. You get, you're doing law. Like I'm doing law. The world has changed. I think it was Ben Mwini who said people are still taking their kids to LDC when Tenge is making CEO money. Another painful realization. Yeah. Yesterday LDC had a graduation, about 1,500 people graduated. In the legal profession already, you have about 7,000 plus who are advocates. You know, so he made a valid argument to that extent. Yeah, who is Tenge? Look at Tenge and the kind of money Tenge is making. 20 years ago, that was not possible. You had to be a lawyer, doctor, engineer. That's how you could go back to my village in Busheni and claim that you are at uni. I'm doing law, but you couldn't go to uni and tell them that I have a TikTok channel. and I'm doing this. So the world has changed at the same time. So it's a reality, it's an emerging reality. So in my view, I would not equate it to youth entitlement, but I would equate it to the fact that young people must wake up to these realities and reinvent themselves. Yeah? I only wish that it is them to make those tough decisions and not the ineffective policies to make these decisions for them. But we're going to have a larger conversation on the policy. I don't want to preempt, but at a later.
Okay, so I didn't want us to jump from the point of development without tackling something. For example, we've been in lectures before, right? And one of our lecturers has told us, after school, you guys are going to come to me and I'll pay you 50K. Or if I realize you're so bad, I won't even pay you, right? I'll tell you like to polish my shoes. You've had those things. Someone, Kutesa was telling me that as a person waiting to do law, my first salary is free Wi-Fi. So you can imagine, you get, that's the world we're preparing for. But a question I think, and someone in the crowd has to, it's just for them to be able to, for us to pick our minds on people. For example, if I'm to ask, I think Isaac is the nearest person, right? What would you say you want as your first salary? Or what do you believe your first salary can be? 1.5 million. Linda, do you agree that your salary should be 1.5 million as well?
Not necessarily agree. I just, okay, it says 1.5
Yeah.
million, but I think that's unrealistic.
It's unrealistic.
Given the fact that you don't necessarily have, you're fresh into the job market.
Yeah.
So you don't necessarily have the amount of experience that a job requires. So 1.5 million,
It's too high.
it's unrealistic in the spaces that we're doing.
Okay.
But due to the cost of living might demand that we need the 1.5 million,
Yeah.
but I don't think that that's going to give you 1.5 million.
Okay.
Yeah.
Marjorie, what do you think? Marjorie she was nodding her head when Isaac said 1.5 million. How much do you think you should earn? Yeah?
I think around 800,000.
800,000. Victor, what do you think? Victor is just drinking sip after sip. He's right in front here. Victor, there are two Victors. Yes, there's Victor and there's also Victor here. But yes, he can tell us, how much do you think your first salary can be?
I think my first salary should be exposure. It should be connections. It should be trips abroad. Yeah.
Okay, so we're getting an idea, right? Conrad said something interesting. When Isaac said 1.5 million, Conrad was like, now that's your worth, right? If you're saying 1.5 million. So, Mr. 1.5 million, that's your worth. What?
Thank you.
What's your first answer for us?
Not necessarily my worth.
Yeah.
But I think, given the time I start working,
Yeah.
I think that's, yeah.
When are you going to start working?
The
Doing
service
internship?
I'll be offering, that would be my worth.
Okay, makes sense. But you guys get the idea we're going for, right? That aspect of, I talked about the aspect of entitlement, right? So would you say that Isaac is feeling entitled to 1.5 million? SSR says yes. I think we can drive you to SSR beach. He says, you, Isaac, 1.5 million. It's not making sense.
Okay, now I think we have to look at this realistically. You're fresh out of campus. You barely have experience.
Yeah.
And you're saying that you want them to pay you 1.5. From where? Like, it's not going to happen. It may be what you deserve, but realistically speaking, no employer is going to pay you that money. So the first job, there's someone once told me that your first job, you shouldn't be looking for money. You should be looking for exposure and experience. Even if they're giving you 200K, it can annoy you, but you swallow. You're like, okay, as I search for something better, at least I'm getting exposure in the field.
Hey guys, an advertising exposure.
Exposure, yes.
I think you can give it to Michelle. Nah, man, you guys are new exposure. No. To Michelle. Is exposure going to put food on the table, guys? Is exposure going to pay our rent?
Thank you, Larok. And I feel like this is something that
Yeah.
the mentality that we have is what's supporting
Yeah.
the employers to keep undermining you. You went and worked for 4 years. They also went and worked for 4 years. Your parents have seen you graduate. They expect you to now feed them. And you're going to be paid exposure, members. Exposure. It's not fair. it's not fair. I wouldn't say that you should expect to be paid like the the top dog in Stanbic Bank, but we must be realistic that we can't keep underestimating the new teams that are coming in and treating them like that. And that's why some jobs are being underestimated, because they're going to keep promising you exposure. They're like, after 1 year, we're going to consider hiring you after you're working your ass like a dog. Members, we need to be guided.
Okay, thank you so much, Michelle. I want one more person to speak before we come back. Okay, maybe we give it to Hope, and then we shall come back on stage and see how we can conclude on that and move on to something, because we have a bit of other topics to touch. But yes.
Okay. I think by the time I graduate, I have exposure, because, you know, we have internship during our university course, right? That's okay. So we have internship, and I think that's where we are expected to get exposure and experience. So by the time I graduate, I have exposure and experience, so I'm entitled to that salary, the 1.5.
Okay, interesting. Thank you very much, everyone who has been able to contribute somehow. We can't take that for granted. But I disagree personally, you guys. Being paid exposure. Eh? Now, there was a paper I was reading with someone, and they say there is a correlation between a new lawyer and the Mercedes Benz. So, me as a lawyer, can't be working on exposure.
Yeah.
But anyway, we shall see, guys. I think it's going to drive us to something else we have been talking about in line with development. And we were laughing about it yesterday, and we were saying, and you guys will agree to disagree, Uganda's biggest achievement this year has been removing vendors from the street. Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes. Someone says no. I think we're going to start with you. But the reason we're talking about that is because it shows us what development really means to us. You get? If as a country we are celebrating removing, you guys are celebrating removing your Rolex guy. You can imagine. But we're celebrating removing vendors. Yet some other countries are constructing stadiums. So what does that mean? What does that show about us as Uganda and us who want to receive exposure as salary?
And it all goes back to that term you're using with letter E, exposure. What we consider is development. I agree. We're in June now. Today is June 20th. That's probably been the biggest thing that the government has done. And at the end of the day, it was commendable, because Kampala is a mess. Gulu is way more organized. Yeah, Mbale is way cleaner. Yeah, than what the mess is in Kampala. So to an extent, the celebration of removing the vendors was justified. Yeah, but it should not be the only thing we're celebrating about. And again, it comes to development. I always keep telling folks, look at Rwanda, for example. Yeah, Rwanda is moving at a level, I don't know how to quantify it. In terms, for those of you who have been to Kigali, firstly, around the proper order and cleanliness of the city. Yeah, look at the structures, the BK Arena. Yeah, those guys hosted Basketball Africa League. Just from the infrastructure alone, they are moving at quite the pace. Yeah, Kenya has the standard gauge railway, so you can go from Nairobi to Mombasa by train. Yeah, so you can live in Mombasa and you work in Nairobi. Yeah, and ideally in the 60s, that's how Uganda was. People used to live in Kasese, they would take the train and they're here from like Namamve. You can't do that anymore. Yeah, so countries are making these strides, and of course promises are always made. The new Minister for Works and Transport has vowed to be serious on the project of the standard gauge railway from the Kenya-Uganda border, crossing to Kampala, then the next phase up to Kasese. Yeah, these are achievements that we should actually be celebrating. Yeah, but it's unfortunate that our level of development is to celebrate them evicting vendors from the street, which is not a long-lasting solution. It's why evicting borders is dangerous and not tenable, in my opinion, because these folks are going to go into criminality. Yeah, and even the vendors, it can be argued that some of them, because these people have people to feed, kids to feed, food to put on the table, and they're selling these things. So even as the government looks for a solution, I understand what KCC is going through. It's not easy, but the solution should be twofold. And in my opinion, that can be full development. But just removing hawkers, it's a step that recognize, okay, but now lock in, fix the flooding. Why must it rain? And let me tell you a story. So we were somewhere and it rained very bad, so I had to pass Yusufule Road. I don't have a car, so I use the border. Ladies, use that information as you will. But yes, I don't have a car. And you know, law students, everyone who knows me knows I dress quite formally. So I was in very nice brown shoes of mine, which I love so much. You're passing somewhere, there's all this running water and mud, it goes on my shoes. I was supposed to meet somebody. I first had to ask the judge guy, okay, I have spent 5 minutes cleaning my shoes, then cleaning the parts of my pants here. Why should Kampala city be like that? People in my village aspire to come to Kampala. But what are they aspiring to come to? And again, it goes to development. Yeah? Why can't we aspire to be bigger cities like Joburg, you know? To be like Joburg. Okay, Joburg is not good. Why can't we aspire to be like Cape Town? Yeah? Or Kigali. Yeah, those are organized cities. Joburg is a bit... So, in my view, that is development now. But for us to just stick on hawkers, it's notable. Yes, it's notable and commendable. They're starting to work. But, I don't know. We can do better. The bar is really should be higher.
Okay. I think Conrad has touched very interesting things, which makes me to beg the question, what is the Ugandan dream, guys? You see how America has that thing of, okay, guys, may I watch series? That's why when they said social media and TV, I stayed on my TV side. So there's that thing where Americans have the American dream. You can go to America and be anything. What? So I was talking with some people and guys said, the Ugandan dream is simple. You go to school, get a degree, live, buy some land in the village, you construct your house, have your kids. Like that's the mindset. Obviously, I think, and drive a Subaru, as he has added, you get. So I want to know, you guys, what's the Ugandan dream? And I'm going to be a bit picky. We're coming that side to Manzi, but I want to start with someone in the employment sector to tell us what the Ugandan dream is. She's right behind you. So she understands the dynamic of what do you think the Ugandan dream is.
What do I think the Ugandan dream is?
Yeah.
Interesting question. I'm wondering whether I should answer it individually or generally.
You can answer it individually.
Okay, individually, the Ugandan dream is to be self-employed individually. On a larger scale, like they've said, go to school, get a degree. For women, I guess it would be get married, have kids, and die.
Women, do you agree? That's part of the Ugandan dream, to be married.
On the general scope, that's the Ugandan dream. But for me, it would be self-employment, independence, and just running my own show.
Okay. Let's pass the mic to Jonasi, that side. It's Jonasi Manzi, that's fine. Yeah.
As the Ugandan Jonasi, the Ugandan dream is polygamy, but no, but it's not that. I think the Ugandan dream, because I've grown up with siblings who tell you the reality of things, right? The private sector doesn't pay well. So the Ugandan dream for some people, lawyers, engineers, is a government job. No. Oh, you tell me. What is your Ugandan dream, Singer Michelle?
And I think it's not my personal dream, but the Ugandan dream these days, whether we want to realize it or not, is to leave the country.
But Singer is telling us.
Many people are working. No, you guys, do you see yourself doing a master's here? The Ugandan dream is to leave.
Yeah.
Some of us have dropped out of education, so I don't know what you're saying.
I think it does have something to say. Yeah?
Yeah?
I'm going to sensible things. So I have two versions. The first one that I had in high school, especially when we were in senior 6 and we're debating what are we going to do after and the plans. So the first one is get a degree or get a master's, join the army and chill. I swear.
Guy.
No, guys, let's be
Guy
realistic.
knows another army.
Let's be let's be realistic. Okay, not chill per se, but you know what I mean. Yeah, go through the ranks, reach a point, and then just enjoy the money. That's the honest truth. There's that version. Some people take it and be fraudulent along the way, something like that. And then, for me, man, there's the realistic. I'll tell you the one on ground that I know of that people do. The one that some of our parents believed in, that you get a job, buy a car, get married, build a house, finish your retire, get severance, and then enjoy your retirement. I believe for like a lot of people in the private sector, that's their dream. That's their Ugandan dream, yeah.
Okay. Does someone else want to share with us their Ugandan dream? I think Victor is also in front this side. Karugawa. Yeah.
Now, as I was telling my neighbor here, we all have these visions and things. I was even telling how can the Ugandan dream be you getting out? But what you want to do, when you want to do it, is the Ugandan dream. Most of the times, people will have very stressing jobs, but as long as on Friday evening, they can stop work like at around 5 and go to Chadia and have pork and have the rest of the evening and the weekend to themselves, you will not hear them complain about that. They will tell you the nicest things about their job. Or someone settles there and they tell you, man, Larok, on Saturday, I'm planning to go to the village. Like, you don't have any inconvenience or something that is controlling you. You have the normal things you're supposed to do, the normal jobs you're supposed to do. But when you feel like you want to do something, when you have the financial independence to send your children out, like, you won't care much about if they have taken Lukwago or not, if they have refused to give interns money. As long as you can do what you want when you want, plus the normal things, like you have to work for your kids, you have to, provide for your family. Those things are there. But as long as you can do what you want in your free time, go to Bandali, do what, you won't care much. So, I think that's the Ugandan dream.
Okay. That's someone else wants to give us their perspective. I don't know. We can get Abadmanzi.
Okay, I feel like I want to directly rebut to that.
Okay.
That's the American dream. The individual, the me is the American dream. Working for my household, for me, that's not our culture or our country, I think. As a nation, as a culture, as the African continent, our general philosophy is loving our family, obviously. But as you can see on social media lately, we're moving towards thinking about other people as opposed to ourselves. The whole internship thing with the medics has everyone riled up. There's a way when we come together, it's more beautiful. And that's something that we do as Ugandans, as Africa, when we get the chance to do it. But seeking to be happy alone, I feel is a Western type of philosophy, because that's the American dream. You can become anything you want to be and do anything you want to do with the money that you have made, which is something we all desire to do, but I don't think it reflects us as Ugandans, as who we have been or who we can be. That's what I think.
Okay, so I don't know, someone may have something to say, but we're running out of time, so we're going to have to bring the conversation back to the stage and move on to the next topic, because Solomon has actually led us there. He has talked about the aspect of the medical interns, right? And he has been saying how everyone cares about what's happening, and to a certain extent I beg to disagree that everyone actually cares, because a few weeks back everyone cared about what was happening with Okello, right? A few weeks back everyone cared about Anita Among and her Rolls Royce. A few weeks back people were caring about, I don't know, I think we saw the video of the mom who was throwing herself on the street.
Yeah.
You saw that video, right? Because they had been evicted from the swamps.
Yeah.
Everyone cared about that. So that's the Uganda we live in. It's just, it's like you're scrolling on TikTok. You're just changing from one thing to the other. So next week something is going to come up, and we shall care about that also. But then we shall not really do anything. And it moves us to the aspect of, don't we believe that right now activism is just aesthetic? That when someone says, I was going to say James Spire, but no. When someone goes onto Twitter and then they put a cartoon or they put a message and they are speaking against what Muhoozi is doing, and they're saying, guys, our country is going to the, you've seen that meme of, have the dogs come to the country or the country has gone to the dogs, you know? People are just doing those things, but it doesn't really mean anything. It's just aesthetic. If you jump onto the trend of, guys, we care. Actually, you start that hashtag of guys, we care, something like that.
It's still going to be a talking stage thing.
Uh-huh.
What do you think about the country?
So you've heard. That's how you're going to start that jazz. So I wanted to pass the thought to Conrad, because Conrad is directly involved in these things, activism, human rights, and that's where the question comes in. Do we actually think this is now just being done for the sake? Everyone can jump on it like a trend.
Okay, thank you. It's not a trend, and it should not be a trend, because it is very, very real, and it has become aesthetic. And our generation, we have weaponized it in that way, because it just looks, I don't know, you want to be seen the same way everyone wants to be seen. So you'll post, you'll retweet, yeah? Retweets are endorsements. So you'll endorse, be like, yes, this is wrong, what, you'll reshare. WhatsApp introduced the reshare button on statuses, yeah? You'll reshare. And that's problematic, especially when you don't actually identify. Though I commend the fact that you're resharing, because you should know, it does matter, it does affect you, but it should not stop at resharing. And this is something I always tell people. Do what you can, where you can, how you can, yeah? Some of us here, we can't, I don't know if I can protest, yeah? I can't run, I'm a terrible athlete. So how am I supposed to run from cops when they're after me, yeah? I can't run, but I can write. I can argue. And that's where I try and have an active hand. I was so proud of myself. I think I can share this story. The sovereignty bill was there, and so they invited thoughts. So we wrote, we submitted, and to an extent, it felt like it did matter. And I understand that feeling, because I've felt it. It felt like, what am I doing? But I just told myself that history will not judge me fairly by the fact that I had this knowledge and I did use it for the millions of people out there who do not have this knowledge. So we wrote something. I'm not going to say that they tweaked the bill a bit because of what we submitted. So many folks way more influential than me had that effect, yeah? But I was happy by the fact that in the records and archive department at Parliament, there is a paper with our names on it, arguing for something that we genuinely believed in. That's something small that you can do, yeah? And it starts, as I said, it starts small. It starts small by you writing something on Substack, or it starts small by you sharing in a place like this, sharing your thoughts. You never know, yeah? It may seem small to other people, and I always encourage you, don't listen to that noise. They're not you. Most of the people who shoot you down are not doing anything, yeah? But there are those who are doing nothing and are simply resharing on WhatsApp because everyone else is resharing. And you don't want to look like as if you don't care. You want to look like you care when you don't care. There's a movie called Fight Club, and an iconic scene is we do things we hate to impress people we don't even know, yeah? So the same thing, you're resharing something to show that you care, but you don't care, which is wrong, and it totally defeats the purpose.
Yeah.
So it's something that we should change, and it starts from all of us in this room. Tell your friends and their friends. Tell everybody, and yeah, get that going. So I think it is a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a challenge.
And so definitely, before we conclude this particular bit of youth politics and whatnot, because as we said, we're trying to work within time, so there are things we shall cut off and all that. We want to bring the conversation back to the audience. What do you guys actually think? When we see people retweeting on tweet on X, right? When you see someone writing something and putting it on their status, does that actually mean something? Does it actually contribute to the change you want to see? Actually, let's even start from there. Do you, who is seated here right now, actually want to see anything different, or are we comfortable? I think Victor said it quite well. The truth is, if you can go to Chadi, like today, there is a game. If you can go to Chadi for your poker and they have not removed it, there's really no what? There's really no issue, right? If you can go to Bandali, there's really no issue. So maybe we do have that mentality of, until it comes knocking on my door, it doesn't really matter. And I don't know what guys think. This time people seem very reserved. I think it was Solomon who had something to say in the aspect of medical interns. I don't know if you have something to bring in that particular aspect, that people don't actually care, but what they were doing was from a place of, I know Solomon, and Solomon is in that medical field, right? So to show I care, let me retweet or let me put it on my status. But let us say Solomon tomorrow comes and tells me, we are going to strike, we're going to maybe sit outside Mulago with placards. Will I really join? Do you actually think people will join you? Medical, okay, Manzi wanted to speak, so I'll allow him. As a medical student, do you actually think that people will be willing to join you, or will you actually recognize that this is pretty much just aesthetic that's going on in that particular aspect? Yeah.
My table mates were saying that I'm overshining, eh? But I'll allow. Can you guys hear me? Okay, so I think I've been in the medical school for only 1 year, right? How I've been able to pick about medics is that they don't have the luxury of time and thought space to even, because when we heard about these issues, the only thing we could do is repost and tell guys, we're dying. We're reading so many books, but they're not going to pay us. You understand? But if you get engaged in that, you go at the risk of not actually not actually focusing on your books, right? So I think medics, they have to fight for us. I think we have to borrow some allied forces from like Cobams, from like law school, guys who have time, eh? No offense, eh? But like guys who have time to come and fight for us. But yeah, so man, that's my unpopular opinion on that. But I have a more sophisticated opinion from my other medic who wants to share.
Well, my fellow medic didn't hear that question, I imagine. Because you asked, do we believe that other people would rally with us in our fight, in our cause? And I think in reality, they wouldn't, because no one is willing to put their neck on the line for someone for something that's not directly affecting them. Unfortunately, that's how most things are in this country. For example, when they abduct Lukwago, and you've seen that they've abducted Lukwago, are you going to put yourself in the same lights to be at the same risks as he's in? Definitely not. So I do believe that the medical interns themselves will fight the good fight. They'll do the best that they can do because they are directly affected. I believe people who sympathize with them will also fight with them. But the grand majority may be afraid of what can happen in case they join in the fight. And the grand majority will just riposte. Will feel bad, but do no further action. Because it's too dangerous to join the fray. It's too risky to put yourself out on the line with them. So most likely, you will find other medics, perhaps the sympathizers, the SHOs, they will join us. But imploring other people to sympathize with us, we can, and some will, but the grand majority might not. And that's the harsh reality of it. That's what I believe, that's what I think.
Okay, thank you, Solomon, for bringing that to light. I think that has made sense to us. We've been able to find some leveled ground in that particular aspect. I think there was so much legal jargon that people didn't even get that particular bit. But I think as we conclude, I will give Conrad the opportunity maybe to give us his parting remarks, something you think under this field of youth, politics and the illusion of change, that maybe hasn't been talked about because of time, but something you would want people to live with in this particular conversation? Yeah.
Thank you. When we started this discussion, and I think when the MC, when Mwesi said, so the first thing is going to be politics, and someone was like, politics? You know, that's the first thing. Yeah? Thinking it does not affect you. I wish it didn't, but it does. Something that Donald Trump did, yeah, at the White House. I've never been to America. Some people have been to America as well. Something he did is affecting us. Phil was, I don't know, last week is about 6.5, yeah, 6,500 shillings. Something he did. See, this is why I say it affects you, because even from the smallest and most minuscule things, and that's global. Let's look at the Ugandan context. Medical students are feeling what it is for government to do something, and really it makes no sense to you at all. And that's where we are headed. We had the sovereignty bill, which was supposed to, it made no sense, you know, at all. And that's how you see it literally and greatly affects you and your dreams. So my message is this: the whole scenario that it doesn't matter is wrong. It does matter. Let me tell you something interesting. It usually takes one bad decision for you to commit a crime and go to jail, or for you to land up in a police cell. Either they catch you with weed, it's a bad decision. You drunk drive and Kawinyimu gets you, there's that shell there, Ginger Road. Not Ginger, it's Ginger Road when you're coming from Bandali. That place is very, very dangerous. They get you from there, drunk driving, you sleep in, it's a bad decision, usually it takes you to a police cell. The mistake you make is thinking that that bad decision must be yours. And that is the moment that you'll see that if we had proper systems, they matter. It's in that moment. As I've said right now, it may not matter, yeah? But don't be thinking like that. Don't wait for it to knock on your door for you to see that it's actually at your door. You shouldn't make that mistake. You should know and try, and I know it sounds very idealist. I'm an idealist, so I guess it is. Yeah, I guess it is. But that's what I'll say, that do what you can, where you can, how you can. You know, get involved and know that it's our time now. We are not young people, we're now just people. Like, we are now just people. People are either two things. You're either productive or you're dead weight. We're not young people anymore. We're going to leave uni and someone will be your boss and will be harassing you to get work on a deadline. We will be people. What does that mean? That means that it will be our time, our era. We can't say that our parents did this and keep blaming them, or blame our grandparents. We hope that our kids do better. Of course, we hope they do better. But it will be our time to actually, you know, do our best to make this world better and ensure that every person has an honest and decent living. Our time is up. I feel like doing a mic drop, but I don't know. I feel like that might break this thing here. But those are my parting shots. I just hope that we can realize that this matters. Yeah, it matters. And yeah, I hope this discussion has been lovely. Yeah.
So I think we're going to conclude. This has been